I ask for the truth on behalf of Carly Brett concerning life relationship issues, and ask this in the name of truth, right conduct, peace, love and non-violence. Blessed be to the crow, the carrier of souls from darkness into light, and blessed be to the truth always. Let us now we've cut the deck, and we'll just place where the deck splits, of course, is where it is at its most energetic point after asking on your behalf. So we'll just place the cards over here, and we'll just investigate the tarot to see what this is all about. The question was about life relationship issues. I suppose that was probably life, stroke, life and or I suppose maybe. But the relationship seemed to be mentioned as more prominent. We'll deal out 3 cards then, and we'll see what's going on. Just as any storyline we have, we deal out a beginning card, a middle card, and an end card, as you could say, couldn't you? And of course, the beginning card is, in this case, the recent past, or you could say the recent past influence, and then you got the present influence, and then the immediate future influence. The recent past and the immediate future, I always say, is a moon phase behind and a moon phase in front, in the sense of it's about 3 or 4 weeks either side, isn't it? 3 or 4 weeks behind and 3 or 4 weeks ahead, because that's realistic to sort of do it that way, isn't it? We can always say that something will happen in the next 3 years, because probably 9 times out of 10 we'll be right on that. We're after sort of immediate, really. Although the question was about life, wasn't it, really? So let's see what the first card shows us. Let's see what Crow has to offer, and see what's been vibrating in your recent past. We'll just rotate the card here, very nice and slow, not to disturb the energy, and just to see what the energy is. And you've got the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords. It's got a Gemini energy to it, hasn't it? It's got Gemini attached to it there. Swords. Well, what are swords? Well, swords is related or connected to the element of air. Sometimes it was like the sword of justice. Was to do with, I always tend to connect it with the Solomon thing, you know, the Solomon and the 2 women who were arguing over the child, and Solomon said, I'll get me sword and I'll chop the child down the middle, and then you can both have half a child. And one of the women shouted, let her have that child. And he said, well, you must be the true mother, because no mother would allow a child to be chopped in half, which symbolises justice, I suppose, in that sense. So we can sort of link it to that, can't we? But swords really, in this particular case, is linked to air, the element of air, which really is to do with the numbers 2 and 3, isn't it? I suppose, really. 10, the number 10, of course, with it being the 10 of Swords. The number 10 is related to the physical vehicle. It's to do with Earth, isn't it? So I suppose you could call that the earthly part of air, couldn't you? Or the physical vehicle of whatever air is, which is creative and transmissive powers. So you could say it's the physical vehicle of creative and transmissive powers. Crowley often, Alistair Crowley and the Thoth, the Alistair Crowley Thoth Tarot calls it the Lord of Ruin. And this sort of shows you like a black and clouded energy, with the crow flying toward it as if to carry the soul through the darkness into the light, or through the fog of uncertainty. And then of course either the fog will lift of its own accord, or you'll come through the other end, either, the other side. Either way, you will have been carried throughout it there. And this is a sort of thing, because the question was about life, relationships, whatever. Relationships really, wasn't it? You could say that you've experienced ruin, yes, a black or some form of darkness on the horizon, as you would say, maybe. Maybe you've experienced a dark period between now and this time last month. October to early November hasn't been very good for you for that. Usually the 10 of any suit can indicate that that it's sort of like wearing itself out. It's worn its energy out. A bit like the 10 of Wands is seen to be like little sort of, with that being to do with fire, and element of fire is often perceived to be like sort of smouldering embers, as if it's worn itself out. Whereas this sort of, the communication and the creativity has worn itself out, and that's what the ruin is. I suppose that's what ruin is, isn't it? Or when things are black and cloudy, things are uncertain, it's because there's no communication. It's worn itself out. Familiarity breeds contempt. Sometimes you hear them say, don't you? Familiarity breeds contempt. And maybe that could be a part of it as well, couldn't it? In this relationship that you recently have experienced or tried to get into. It could be one you recently has come to a natural end, or it could be one you've tried to get into and it's just, I don't know. I think that may be irrelevant really, which sort of end of the relationship you've been in. It's just the fact that with this, maybe you feel it in sort of despair. But knowing that the crow has carried you, I suppose it's a bit like that Footprints poem, isn't it? When that's not when those footprints, those single set of footprints, wasn't where you were alone. It was when I was carrying you, and that is when the crow carries you, and you've been carried just recently through that. But maybe things would have been worse if Crow Brother hadn't been there to help heal, because the carrion crow heals the nature, doesn't he? Because he clears up the dead flesh, and a bit like the garbage man of nature, isn't he? And that sort of clears up and heals in that way. So maybe, although it was a process of healing that you've experienced, maybe you've perceived it as lack of communication, which it was. Not so much a loss of communication, like with the Five of Swords or something like that, which is the defeat or whatever. It's not sort of being at a loss because of a communication loss in that sense. It's just a natural sort of winding down, things coming to the natural end because there's nothing else that can be done with it. A bit like, I suppose, the end of life when we get ill or whatever it is, that eventually, if you live long enough, something will kill you. It's that sort of thing. And maybe this relationship you've been in has just lived a bit too long for what it needed, and it came to an end. And now it left you in a state of black and clouded, maybe feeling insecure and all those sort of feelings that you get with it. Let's see what's going on now, of course. Have you become empowered, or Has he got worse? Has he got better? What's... You could, I suppose, say that this is the present influence is the effect of the recent past, couldn't you? Really, you could say that, couldn't you? But it's also the cause of what happens around the corner. Let's just see what this is an interesting card. Look at this. You got the page of coins. That's got a Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus sort of feel to it, hasn't it? An earthly feel, and of course it would be earthly because coins, I mean, Crowley calls it discs, but coins is to do with the element of earth. So it's whatever of earth, isn't it? Of course, the page is the earthly part, isn't it? The page represents the earthly part. Which is well done, this one, this card, because it's the earthly part of earth, the physical vehicle of itself in that sense. The Black Panther, of course, spirits that walk the earth. The four-legged ones, as you would say. Notice how there's a difference there. You've got the four-legged ones and you've got the winged ones. The crow, in your recent past, is the winged ones. They are thought to carry the messages from the heavens to the earth. So they are the guides, aren't they? So it's as if you had been received, when you were carried with guidance. It's whatever guidance that Spirit was giving you to try and heal you, to clear up the clutter or whatever it was that you had to do. Whereas now it's manifested itself in the form of empowerment. The Black Panther, I mentioned that, didn't I? Well, have you become empowered? And look at this. The Black Panther represents empowerment. Because he walks the earth, of course, he protects, but he moves in the shadows, he works in the shadows. And that's... darkness is like the crow works in the darkness. The Black Panther works in the darkness as well. The darkness is very strong, isn't it? You can be protected in darkness. Yes, evil can reside in the darkness because it's an easy place to hide. But the darkness is also protective for those who mean well, or for those who need protection, as you would say. In this case, you could say, yes, you've been protected. The panther often represents passion as well, doesn't it? As if you should follow your passion, or take note of what it is that you're doing. In this particular scenario, we've got the panther moving, as if moving down some steps in the light, nevertheless surrounded by the darkness, nevertheless, but being noticed, a silhouette there or whatever, being noticed as he glides slowly or smoothly there, as if in this case, because it's to do with passion, it's to do with expression, isn't it? And maybe this is what it is. To empower yourself, you must express yourself. Also, to do with messages, receiving and sending messages, whatever messages have been sent or received, of course, have something to do with this relationship issue that you're experiencing. So maybe you are empowering yourself by saying no. Maybe the word no is involved here, as well as the word oh yes, yes, yes. The word no also, it can be powerful. No, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that, so to speak, as the song goes. I just won't go that far, I'm afraid. I have my boundaries. That's, and of course, maybe if somebody has been recently saying that you're useless, or you're useless because we wanted you to do this, but if you don't want to play the game, then that's, I'm afraid, then you could say, well, no, it doesn't make me useless because I don't want to do something that I don't want to do, or I don't want to do something that I feel is unethical. I can empower myself. The Black Panther can carry me through that darkness, can protect me through that, and help me see the light. This is another thing that you seem to be experiencing right now, isn't it? This is the truth, because Crow tells the truth, and the magic brings magic maybe to provide an answer to it. Let's see if there is an answer, or not if there's an answer, but what sort of answer or what sort of solution maybe exists in the immediate future. We can sort of link that up. What's going to happen between now and this time next month from I suppose a pragmatic, logical sort of angle? Let's just turn that card, rotate it, flip it slowly there. Notice there you've got the there you go. You've got the Empress there. Now notice this is an interesting card, isn't it? But the Empress is an important card, because these two cards here, the Ten of Swords and the Page, the Ten of Swords in your recent past and energising your recent past, and the Page of Coins and energising your present, that will manifest into the Empress. The Empress is a major arcana card. You've got two minor arcana cards and a major arcana card. Originally, of course, the major arcana came first, the esoteric 22 major arcana deck. It's two decks, the tarot deck, isn't it? The major arcana and the minor, the 22 and the 56 minor arcana. With minor arcana energies, as you would say, like your recent past and the present, you've been able to change it. You've had power to change things, if you had to. Like when the ruin came, when the black and clouding energy was there just recently, you had power to, yes, allow yourself to be guided through. You had power to listen to the guidance that Crow gave to help you through that. Just like now you have the power to change things, in the sense that you are empowered by the energy, by the spirit of Black Panther, who's there to guide you as well, and heal you, but primarily to protect, because there's guidance recently, protection right now. You have power to sort of change that and do what you will, do what thou wilt with it, as you would say. But with a major arcana energy, you've got no power to change it. It's permanent. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. In this particular case, it's good or positive, as you would say, in the sense of the Empress is often in some decks seen as a pregnant woman, because a pregnancy for a woman is a personal achievement, isn't it? It doesn't change the world, but it changes her world. It had an effect upon it. Her empire, as you would say. So it represents that, in the sense that you will have a personal, I suppose, a personal best, doesn't it? If you run a marathon or do sport or something like that. Well, I didn't come first in the marathon, I didn't come first in the race, but I beat my own personal best. I did better than I did last time, or last year, or whenever it was I did it. So I beat me, sort of broke my own record. Which at the end of the day, I suppose, is more important than trying to beat everybody else. It's not about winning and losing anyway, is it really? It's just... It's But this is about, of course... Notice here you've got the bird spirits there, they've got guidance there. Notice you've got the four-legged ones, the deer there, representing the Pathfinder. I suppose that's sort of listening to your own, following your own instinct, really, isn't it? So listening to the guidance that spirit brings, and listening to your own your higher self and your instinct, following your instinct there, protection again with the Jaguar. Now just the Jaguar represents to reclaim something, as if you can get back what what may have been taken away from you in that previous relationship, whatever the ruin was. You've got an opportunity to reclaim it there, haven't you? There's the foliage there, maybe that's new growth or something like that, maybe. And the moth or whatever it is in the moonlight, although moonlight is reflected sunlight, it could be a reflection maybe. Normally with a tarot card you have a triangle above a square, the square of matter and the triangle of spirit, as if the square is the earthly effect of that. But in this deck it's not traditional, unfortunately, I suppose, to that degree. About like the 1JJ or the Tarot of Marseille or whatever. So he tends to follow, but I like this deck. I use it. Notice there the crow, of course, guidance again. Being as if you've been carried through the darkness just recently here, empowered and sort of protected right now as you need that. Your spirit will only give what you need, of course. Never harm you or anything. And then brought through to the sunrise there, as if to say, tomorrow's sunrise is the beginning of the rest of your life. And there's guidance there. The eagle, listen to your higher self, follow your instinct, and reclaim what is yours. And the introspection of the moon or whatever, you'll be able to contemplate and use introspection and think back and maybe learn a lesson from it. And on another planet sort of here in this dreamlike sort of world, as you would say, just indicating that yes, there is always maybe another way or another planet or another place that you can go to. Another place in the sense of, well, you were in a bad place just recently, and there's always another place that you can go, another sort of, in that metaphorical sort of sense. Isn't that interesting, really, when you think about that? So with that, really, other than going round in circles for now, I think, for you there, Kamal, I think what we'll do is hope that Crow has brought some guidance for you, some insight, and hopefully, of course, the major part of this situation that you're experiencing is yet to come between now and this time next month, maybe to the end of the year. So maybe the festive season won't be as bad as all that, but whatever happens, you won't have much influence over it. But it'll be to do with really reclaiming what's yours and getting back, what you've lost, listening to your higher self, lessons learned, of course, following your instinct, and Crow will help you shapeshift, will help you adapt to that as you go. So it's not all bad in this particular case. And this is probably where you may feel that there is a reward to come, it's like the bad things happen, the negative things happen, but when you come out the other side, you can put your feet up and say, that sort of thing. Tell me about it. So with that, no further ado, for now, these cards have spoken. Blessed be to Crow.